Nobody saw this coming. The Indiana Fever, yes. The same Fever team, once laughed off as a rebuilding project, just demolished the Las Vegas Aces. 81-54. Let that score sink in. And here's the twist. They did it without Caitlin Clark on the floor. This isn't just a win, it's a statement. The dynasty is cracking. The power shift is real. This is the game that may have just flipped the entire WNBA upside down. Let's break it down for years. The Las Vegas Aces have reigned supreme in the WNBA stack with MVPs built on championship DNA and backed by one of the most complete rosters the league has ever seen. They were the team nobody wanted to face. That is, until now. Coming into this matchup, the storyline was clear. Caitlin Clark, Indiana's young phenom, was sidelined with a lingering groin injury. The Fever were considered underdogs by nearly every analyst. The Aces were expected to steamroll them, but as the old saying goes, basketball isn't played on paper. Right from the tip-off, the Indiana Fever brought an energy that caught Vegas completely off guard. They defended like their playoff lives were on the line. The Aces, used to dictating the pace, were suffocated by Indiana's relentless switching, help defense, and communication. Lexie Hull, who was rarely in national headlines, became the heartbeat of that defense. Her hustle, grit, and rebounding set the tone early. Kelsey Mitchell locked down the perimeter. Natasha Howard controlled the boards, and Aaliyah Boston, she turned the paint into a war zone. By halftime, the message was clear. This wasn't going to be a fluke. This was a fight. Yes, AJ Wilson finished with 29 points. But here's the catch: she went to the free throw line 17 times. The officiating, let's just say it didn't go unnoticed. There was a highly controversial jump ball call that should have been an over-the-back foul. But here's the impressive part. The Fever didn't let it rattle them. They adjusted. They stayed locked in. And despite Wilson's numbers, the rest of the Aces squad collapsed. Chelsea Gray, a non-factor. Jackie Young, frustrated and inefficient. Kelsey Plum, contained. And on the other end of the floor, it was Kelsey Mitchell's show. She dropped 25 points, but it wasn't just the volume, it was the when and how she scored. Smooth mid-range pull-ups, confident three-pointers, big buckets in momentum-shifting moments. And she didn't do it alone. Aaliyah Boston had a quiet double-double, dominating inside. Natasha Howard provided muscle and leadership, and the ball moved. Indiana racked up 24 assists on 31 made field goals. That's chemistry, that's coaching, that's belief. Even though she wasn't playing, Caitlin Clark was very much a part of this game. Her voice could be heard from the bench, encouraging, directing, energizing. You could feel her leadership, and her teammates fed off that. Caitlin wasn't just a cheerleader, she was a floor general in sweats, showing that leadership doesn't stop when the jersey comes off. This is what culture looks like. The Aces looked tired, disconnected, out of rhythm. Their body language frustrated, their communication lacking. It's rare to see a team this talented look so beatable, but that's exactly what happened. The dynasty's armor has dents, and the Fever just drove a stake through it. This game wasn't just about one win, it was about a new era. The WNBA is changing. Indiana, once written off, is now forcing its way into the conversation, and when Caitlin Clark returns healthy, this team becomes scary. They've got depth, they've got chemistry, and now they've got belief. When the final buzzer sounded and the scoreboard read 81-54, a shocked silence fell over Las Vegas. The Aces, a team long hailed as the modern dynasty of the WNBA, had just been dismantled by the Indiana Fever, and Caitlin Clark hadn't even touched the floor. What happened on that court wasn't just a game. It was a loud, unignorable statement. The balance of power in the WNBA is shifting, and this is just the beginning. The media whirlwind following the Indiana Fever's blowout win over the Las Vegas Aces was instant and intense. Sports networks, analysts, and fans on social media had no choice but to pay attention. Mainstream platforms like ESPN, Bleacher Report, and The Athletic called the game one of the most lopsided upsets in recent WNBA memory. Commentators who once doubted the Fever's roster beyond Caitlin Clark were forced to acknowledge that this team is deeper, tougher, and more dangerous than anyone anticipated. Former players took to X, formerly Twitter, praising the defensive grit of Lexie Hull, the post dominance of Aaliyah Boston, and the floor general poise of Kelsey Mitchell. Even Fever skeptics admitted that something special is brewing in Indiana culture, built not just on one star, but on a full roster of hungry competitors. One viral post read, "This Fever win isn't about the Aces having an off night. It's about a team finding its identity. Clark or no Clark, this is a legit squad." Though Caitlin Clark was ruled out due to injury, she wasn't upset from the moment. Cameras frequently cut to her on the bench, standing, clapping, shouting directions, and firing up her teammates. It wasn't just symbolic, it was tactical. Players later reported that Clark's courtside feedback was as helpful as any assistant coach. She called out defensive switches, helped organize plays, and encouraged everyone to keep the foot on the gas. Kelsey Mitchell said post-game, "Caitlin might not have suited up, but she played in this win. She kept us sharp. Clark's presence as a vocal leader reinforced something critical. This team is not just being built around her talent, but around her vision, mentality, and drive. And that influence is already producing dividends." Now, let's shift the focus to the Aces, a team that, for the first time in a long time, looked confused, disconnected, and exhausted. Despite A'ja Wilson's stat line 29 points, multiple rebounds, and a flurry of free throws, the rest of the team was nearly invisible. The Aces shot just 26% from the field as a unit. They turned the ball over 17 times. Chelsea Gray, typically a reliable offensive catalyst, failed to hit a single field goal until the fourth quarter. Coach Becky Hammon appeared flustered on the sidelines, and defensive assignments broke down repeatedly. The normally precise and devastating Aces offense became stagnant and predictable. Several analysts suggested that the Aces were simply not prepared for the level of intensity the Fever brought. One wrote, "It's not that Vegas didn't want it, they just didn't expect to be punched in the mouth." This win could mark a changing of the guard in the WNBA. While it's too soon to declare the Aces' dynasty over, their vulnerability was exposed not by a full-strength team, but by a young squad missing its most marketable player. The Fever's play style was everything modern basketball aspires to be: high energy, team first, unselfish. They had 24 assists on 31 made shots. Their ball movement left Vegas defenders scrambling. Their rotations on defense were tight, and their bench played with just as much urgency as the starters. It wasn't just that Indiana won, it's how they won. They looked more connected, more resilient, hungrier. A'ja Wilson may still be the league's most dominant post player, but this game showed she can be contained, especially when the surrounding cast fails to deliver. This game was proof that Indiana is more than just Caitlin Clark's highlight reel. Yes, she's a generational player. Yes, her return will elevate the team, but the Fever are developing an identity that doesn't rely solely on her. Lexie Hull's defense was like a revelation. Natasha Howard's veteran presence held the team steady during key stretches. Aaliyah Boston's control in the paint sent a message: she's still the future of this league. Too, Kelsey Mitchell, she looked like an MVP candidate, not just a secondary scorer. Her ability to attack off the dribble, create spacing, and finish with confidence was elite. So when Clark returns healthy, motivated, and maybe even more rested, she won't have to carry this team. She'll plug into something already moving at a high level.